The era of Swerve has begun, at least for now. MJF is still sidelined. Tony Khan is in a neck brace, and a returning Jungle Boy makes his presence felt. Maybe Scapegoat, maybe more so. Now we're going to talk all things AEW on the channel, and I'm pleased to say that back by a very, I say popular demand, Dave, but you just texted me this morning and said you want to do it. Dave Robertson is back on the show. Dave, how are you, mate?
Yeah, really good, man. Really good. Looking forward to catching up. There's been a lot going down in the last few weeks.
Yeah,
I've got
there
opinions
has.
on a lot of it as well, so be interesting to get your take on the state of AEW, Tony Khan, the Elite, and what they've set up.
Yeah, it's been an interesting few weeks. Let's just rewind back to Dynasty because obviously you did see that. Let's just talk about that. Your views on Will Ospreay and Danielson first.
But they're touting it as one of the best matches to happen on American soil.
Yeah.
Um, it was an incredible match. I mean, it was always going to be, and it was always set up as the dream match.
Mm.
Just think how much better it could have been, not from an in-ring standpoint, but if it was like part of a story or the
Yeah.
blow off in a feud. So maybe they can return to it and you can get an even better match because you can get more story involved in it as well. Given the fact how it ended with the injury, I'm
Mm.
not 100%. I've heard conflicting reports as to how legit that is. I mean, I assumed it was Danielson selling, um, but then I did hear that no, there was a legitimate concern or there was a legitimate issue. So I don't know what you've heard on that. But the way they ended it, the fact that Ospreay now is retiring the Tiger Driver, does lean into the potential for another match down the line. And whether it was, oh, I don't know, you have to try and take out recency bias, but it was certainly up there. It was certainly one of the best matches that I've ever seen in terms of matches of all time or this year. I think Ospreay's got a couple of other contenders. The Takeshita match, and
Mhm.
not just that, the Michael Oku match, which you were actually there for. Um,
Yes.
I don't know how you feel in terms of how it compares with that match, but for me, they're contenders for certainly match of the year.
They all are. I think me was the you mentioned bias thing. I think just being there and just being in that arena when it's
Yeah,
going on at the time makes such a difference for me watching it live as I did when me and Rachel went to the high stakes show at Revolution Pro. So I think that one will always get, the bias side of me saying that was the best one because I was there.
yeah,
But I don't know. I find it difficult not to look past up the Osprey one. You can argue in there, was there too many kickouts? Yes. Was there all, it's the same stuff that you get all the time when people talk about when a great match happens in AEW, you always get the critics out there saying it took 17 super kicks and all of this jazz. But at the end of the day, this is wrestling in 2024 as a pro wrestling company, not necessarily the entertainment side, but as pro wrestling. That is it. These were the two of the best wrestlers in the world. They put on one of the, I would say, the only match that I would say, in my opinion, comes close to the ones I've ever witnessed would be Kurt Angle and The Undertaker at the XL Arena way, way back in probably '05. Again, I was there, but
yeah,
it was 45 minutes, and you know what them two, Taker and Angle in their prime.
yeah,
That is as close to that as I could get. I thought the match was tremendous. I loved it. Absolutely loved
yeah.
it.
I thought the whole show was good. There wasn't too
Yes.
much on it, which I didn't like.
No.
I thought the crowd were really good. Going into it, I thought there was too many matches. That's a criticism that he's
Yeah.
aimed at AEW at times. But to say how much wrestling there was on, I didn't feel like it dragged or it wasn't like a hard watch. Admittedly, I didn't watch the pre-show. There was three matches on
Yeah.
there. I watched that afterwards or the day after. But as just a standalone wrestling pay-per-view, I had a lot of fun with it over the few hours. I thought it was really good. The men's matches, the women's matches, the multi-men matches. And I think whatever criticism people do throw at AEW, I think they always do pull out the stops when it comes to their pay-per-views. There's not too many in the history of the promotion that haven't been sensational. And for us, I think it's about 15, 20 quid. I mean, for that, it's definitely value for money. I know it's a lot cheaper here than in
Mm.
the States. And I know there's means of watching it that can bypass that payment. But if you were paying the 20 quid, you wouldn't be thinking that you've been ripped off.
Try to get me arrested now, Dave.
I'm not throwing any aspersions.
Not at all. But no, Garrett, they always deliver pay-per-views. Yeah, you can argue the odd Dynamites or something like that could be questionable and stuff like that. But in terms of pay-per-view quality, I don't think they've ever really let us down.
No,
Very.
there's not been many. Certainly Dynasty's got to go down as one of their best, and which is already a pretty high bar.
It is. Going on to Will Ospreay's next opponent, he seems to be heading towards a showdown with Roddy Strong
Yeah,
for remind me of the championship he's got, mate. Apologies.
international.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, he won it off our good buddy Orange, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes. So it looks like Ospreay's got again going for a collision course with Roderick Strong. I mean, I don't know if like AEW are trying to like pull out these, Meltzer 6-star, right? I mean, he got 6.5 stars. Sorry, the match between
I did it. I didn't actually see. I was going to
yeah.
ask you that.
Yeah, 6.5 stars and 3 orgasms, I believe, from Dave Meltzer during that one. But to be fair, I can't really argue with that. I don't know about the orgasms bit, but the 6.5 stars, I think, I could probably not very rare that I agree with Meltzer, but on that one, I would say I agree. But yeah, it seems as if like every time they put Ospreay in a ring, I mean, it's against. I mean, he even pulled. I'm not saying he pulled a great match out of him because that would be detriment to. But him and Will Hobbs had a great match as well in the Battle
Yeah.
of Wills. You know,
Yeah.
but
I think
Roddy
everything
Strong.
they've done by Ospreay since he's come into AEW has been phenomenal. I think the
Hmm,
crowd reactions, I
yeah.
think allowing him just to be him,
Hmm.
and letting him never really known or prolifically known for his promos or talking. He's always been very good. I thought he's always been, you know, quite entertaining, but he seems to even like upped it a level in AEW since he's got there. He just seems to be the perfect fit for the company, and they're giving him a lot of freedom as well. In terms of the matches, as you say, he could have a match with a broom at the minute. You know, pull off a match of the night. He's just in his absolute prime. At his peak, he's having the best match of the card wherever he appears, whether that's on a Dynamite or a pay-per-view. I think his inclusion in the Gauntlet match was a bit of a surprise to a lot of people.
Hmm.
But as soon as he entered it, he certainly became somebody that I thought, well, I think Ospreay is going to win this because of how strongly he's been booked. Um, Roderick Strong, I've been really impressed with him since he's come into AEW. He's cooled off a little bit in the recent weeks. I
Yeah.
think since the Devil reveal,
Yeah.
I don't think that faction has been as I don't know, booked as strong or featured as prominently as I would have liked. In saying that, Adam Cole's injury was a little bit worse than they feared, so it looks like he's back now and surely not too far off a return to the ring. So hopefully they can get some momentum back. I think that match at Double or Nothing is going to be great. I fully expect Ospreay to win. Um, and I think maybe we get a situation with Ospreay where we might trade that. I know we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but he may trade that championship in for perhaps a world title opportunity, similar to what they used to do in TNA. I don't know if they still do when they can cash in the X
NWA
Division.
do it now. It's
Yeah,
called the Lucky Seven in NWA. So you
that's it.
get
So
if you win seven
respect.
matches, you
Yeah,
can do it.
that's it. So I because I think the international title it's kind of like the TV title or European title. You know, it's not. It's not below Osprey as such. I mean, any titles are an honor and that type of thing, but you could expect Osprey to go into the world title picture. So I think this might just give us an opportunity to give Swerve a bit of a run, keep them away from each other, but still ultimately build to one hell of a match later on this year between Swerve and Osprey. I think that's where we'll get. I just think there'll be a bit of a detour, and it looks like the international title will be part of that for Osprey.
It does. By the way, that wasn't wine for anybody. That was juice. If people were worried about how quickly I was drinking, that was a juice. Everybody, Christ. Yes, no, I totally agree. I don't think any title. No, I mean it would be what his first mate. I mean he's won the IWGP Championship
Yeah,
many times. I don't think his first. I'm glad that his first championship probably isn't going to be the heavyweight or the world championship. I don't think
yeah,
heavyweight anymore, but I'm glad for that. I mean, it'd be interesting to see, as you say, the bumps in the road. So we are going to find out Swerve's opponent this week on Dynamite for double.
yeah.
Swerve had a great match. We'll get onto his match in a minute with Claudio and against Fletcher. But you kind of mentioned a good point. You mentioned the Devil storyline, and it was great. World's ended, it finished. We were like, oh my god, it was Adam Cole. You had predicted it, but it went dead. Now I think the problem with that was Cole was injured, MJF was injured. So there's your two main points of the storyline gone.
Yeah,
MJF still hasn't. I think he's had surgery now. He was spotted in a sling. I think this weekend he was doing an autograph signing or something, or and he's been in the sling. So that's really died a death. Adam Cole come back on Dynasty, off the wheelchair, walking to the ring, cut a bit of a hole through Wardlow, which was
yeah.
interesting. Um, are we going to once again see Wardlow get kicked out of this group and then Wardlow just goes back to being Wardlow? How he's been booked in many ways, and I'm not trying to be detrimental to AEW, but it's just he'll get into these prime positions or these prime factions, leave it, and you never see him again.
Yeah, it's a real difficult one. I'm not sure what the answer is to Wardlow because we've seen this stop-start kind of push. We've saw or heard him on the microphone cut some
Mm,
real, that promo he cut a few weeks back prior to him having the title shot against Joe
yeah,
was absolute fire. That was got a lot of people talking about Wardlow again. Um, but he just seems to lose the big match and then we don't see him for a while. He drops down the card. A bit of repetition really in as you say the factions, it's a similar role whether that was the Pinnacle or he was in the Inner Circle for a while, wasn't he, with Jericho, and
yeah.
it's a similar type of routine. Not sure where they go with Wardlow. I would imagine though, given that look that Adam Cole gave him, that could culminate in a big match between those pair.
Maybe, maybe so. Let's talk again. You really good segue through here, which I wanted, which I was glad you did, but not so glad that we're going to talk about it. The Learning Tree of Jericho is next. I scathed the match with Hook at Dynamite. I think I even put in a group that Jericho was an abortion. Sorry, Jericho, but that was, I didn't think that match was one of the ones that, well, actually, the only match that stopped me from pretty much giving that pay per view a 10 or an A grade or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it. And now he's doing the Learning Tree of Jericho and Big Bill seemingly moving away from Ricky Stark. Ricky Stark, I don't even know what's happened to Ricky Starks recently. But are you going to fall under the learning tree of Jericho, Dave?
So I quite like where they're going with it. The problem is, I think it's a little bit too late. I mean, I think people have got Jericho fatigue as such.
Mhm.
There's just been times where he's popped up and it's really because we're used to Jericho, being followers of Jericho for over 30 years.
Mm,
We're used to periods in wrestling where he disappears, which gives us the opportunity as fans to miss him. And then he comes back with a big return and it's great. And he's got a new iteration of his character or some new catchphrases or new gear, and it just freshens him up. I think the problem they've got is because Jericho is plays a pivotal part backstage, uh, and he's also on a huge sum of money. There's just the necessity to book him for every pay-per-view or have him feature a lot more prominently
mm,
than perhaps he would have if, during his spell in the WWE. So I'm really conflicted because I do like the learning tree stuff. And when he dropped that line 2 weeks ago about sitting under the brilliant branches of the learning tree, I was like, okay, he's onto something here.
mm,
Um, but as I say, I just think it's a little bit. I think people, rather than him generating heat and people reacting to him and booing him because he's got this character where he's smiling and putting his hands up to the crowd, but he's kind of I think he's got go away heat. I think
mm,
people just don't want him on their screens for the time being. So he's doing his best to salvage that. And he's leaning into the Jericho Vortex stuff and the internet stuff about every time somebody young works with Jericho, Jericho ends up going over, or
mm.
they dropped back down the card into obscurity. So I think he's definitely leaning into that, but. Yeah, what do you think of it? I know you hated the Hook match, but do you think that the learning tree is something that could really get over strong and we might be sitting here in a few weeks really enjoying it? Or do you think it's just a bit too late?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit too. Look, does it intrigue? Did it intrigue me? Big Bill coming out, not particularly.
No.
Um, the learning tree bit, yeah, it could be good. I don't know. I feel as if I'm one of those where you just said like the guy. I need him to disappear for like
Yeah.
3 to 6 months. Like as you mentioned, he used to in WWE and he would do these cryptic clue things or these cryptic promos were there, and it would be him and that sort of stuff. I think that's where I am with him at the moment, and I'm just not keen on what Big Bill would even need to learn from Chris Jericho that would. Yeah, the concept of it is interesting, but I'm not sure what Big Bill is going to be, how they're going to utilize him in that learning tree itself. Concept wise, interested. People at the moment, not so much.
Yeah, I
Do
totally agree. Big Bill wouldn't be my choice. I think,
you know who I would have done it with?
go on.
Trent Barretta.
Yeah,
Because of
yeah.
what's gone on with Best, we're going to get onto that in a minute. But someone that's periphery, action, go back to Action Andretti and then people like that who, again, Dante and Darius Martin would have been another one or another
I
two.
think Trent's a great shout because, as you say, somebody that's been in AEW from the start had some success, but never to win a championship in AEW. Always had that affiliation with best friends.
Mhm.
Looking at Collision, Rampage, actually, the parking lot brawl match, Don
Yes.
Callis was watching on there, so
Mhm.
maybe Trent is somebody that the Don Callis family might be recruiting. But I think somebody like a Trent would have been a better shout than a Big Bill. I don't think Big Bill needs anybody. I've enjoyed his work in AEW. I've enjoyed his work with Brian Cage
Yeah.
and Ricky Starks. But I think Big Bill needs to go out there on his own. Um, I don't think he needs to sit under any tree or any, he doesn't really need anyone. In saying that, Jericho seemed to play a pivotal part in getting Bill into the company. He alluded to that on Dynamite, I think it was.
Mhm.
So there's obviously a relationship there and a friendship. So it's something that they may have concocted. We'll see where it goes. But another thing I don't particularly like about it is the FTW World Title
Yeah.
situation. I don't really know how necessary that is. There's too many titles, and that's what I was talking about with Ospreay and the international title. It's an honor to have a championship, but it's a little bit diluted when there's so many.
Mm.
You've got Okada as well with the
Yeah.
continental title as well, which you feel like Okada should have a title, and he's not really. He's only been in the company permanently, or signed to a contract a few weeks. So to plunge him into the world title picture, perhaps not, but to have him win a championship and be the one of the people to win a championship so quick,
Mm.
you could make an argument for it. But I just think the more there is, the less important the belts seem. Um, so Jericho walking around with the FTW title, I just don't understand that either. Not, I'd get rid of a couple of titles if I was AEW. I'd combine a few.
Yeah, they did that with the trios, didn't they?
Yeah.
And that's probably worked well. We'll get again something else we'll get on to. We must send well wishes, by the way, to Darby Allin. I mean, talk about a fucking run of luck. Breaks his foot. Then today, or maybe yesterday, in New York, walks out into the road and gets hit by a bus. Literally, only I don't know anybody other than Darby Allin that could do, such a. I
Has he
mean,
picked up any other significant injuries from the bus?
I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah, that looks
And what made it even funny was he's like that, and he done an autograph signing earlier on.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, best wishes to Derby.
yeah, yeah. Of all things, it's just something that he would do, wouldn't it? Because he's just Darby Allin. Let's move on to the women, the division that is quite well. Doesn't mean that's wrong. We're saying it is quite exciting, AW, but it's getting back to where it should be getting to. Obviously, Mercedes Moné is well done nothing but talk at the minute. I know that her first match is against Double and is that Double or Nothing, but it should be now against a new TBS champion. Yeah, I am right. You're right. These belts. TBS champion. So Willow Nightingale beat Julia Hart. Julia Hart suffered an injury, so I think that's why she dropped.
Yeah.
But storyline wise, it goes right back to Japan, and it makes a lot of sense Mercedes having this opportunity. Willow Nightingale was the person that she was wrestling when Mercedes got injured in the first place. I do want to question one thing though. They brought back the ranking system, and the first person to get a title shot at Willow Nightingale is first as a person that's not won a match in AEW
Yeah.
yet. And I kind of think, well, why would what made you deserve that match? You've not climbed the rankings. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the match itself. Tells a great story from gone past, but why bring back the ranking system if you're not going to utilize it?
Yeah, I'm not sure why they've done it. I'm not sure why they've done it because you got a situation as well on Dynamite where Carl Fletcher gets a
Hmm.
like a qualify
Eliminate.
eliminator, that's it. Which again, Carl Fletcher hasn't won a stack of matches in AEW. He has in Ring of Honor.
Hmm.
So he's got that opportunity. And then on Collision, you got Claudio, who isn't in an eliminator, he's in an actual title
Match.
match.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where those two fare in the men's rankings, but I don't think they're number one or number two, respectively. So yeah, I'm not sure why you kind of introduce something and you don't really stick to it. I didn't really understand the necessity to bring it back, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
We all know as fans the teams or the individuals or the trios that should be in those positions are over with the crowd. I don't think you need a ranking system to confirm that. I think the reaction from the crowd tells you that, and it's something really that it can make booking the show more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Given the fact that you've got this, how far do you go with it? Do you include, these AEW wrestlers that don't just wrestle for AEW, they go to Japan, we see them on the indies. How far do you go in terms of win-loss records? So, yeah, for me, I would very quickly scrap it again, to be honest. I don't think they should have brought it back.
No, I'm not a fan of it. But then we can talk WWE in drafts, and people just meant to be on one show and they always follow up on the other. So it really
Yeah.
doesn't matter, does it? I suppose in that sense. Let's move off to. I mean, Collision this week was kind of like a bit of a British invasion. We had Martin Stone, who we blew my. We've had Martin Stone on this channel, probably
Yeah.
near enough this time last year, funnily enough, talking about his redemption story and coming back from, pretty much hitting ground zero for him and bouncing back up. He made his AEW debut against a returning Roosh this week, which I know you'll be happy about Roosh being back, but also on Collision this week. The Grizzled Young Veterans was on there. Now, these guys were NXT UK. They've been in Impact Wrestling recently. I think they are still the Revolution Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions, British Tag Team Champions. I met them. I bought a very expensive scarf from them when I met them. Nice to see a couple of Brits in there, Dave, but also the returning Roosh.
Yeah, yeah, I was really excited to see Roosh and a different presentation of Roosh as well. We've got no Jose the assistant
Oh,
anymore. He was released.
yeah.
On these little banner, it still said La Faction Ingobernables
Mhm.
Roosh. So I'm not sure in terms of Preston and the other guy. I can't remember his name.
No, I
Uh,
can't remember.
no,
Let's Google it.
Dralistico.
Realistico. Well done, Dave.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what their status is or whether they're still aligned with Roosh. But I was just glad to see him back. He picked up that injury during the
Mm.
Continental Classic, um, which kind of has hampered his progress. But he's somebody that I think Tony Khan and AEW think a lot of. Just how strongly he's booked at times and the matches that he has and the opponents that he's faced. I think this was a really good showing for him, and good to see, as you say, Martin Stone make an appearance as well. I'm not sure. I'm assuming that's a one-time thing, but yeah, remains to be seen. But yeah, another Brit flying the flag for the UK.
Doing some big business over there. Yeah, I haven't had the graphic that he's all elite yet, so I'm assuming. I
Uh,
think same with the vets. I think it's just one of those things where that they
I'm pretty sure the vets will be like a pay-as-you-go type arrangement. We might
yeah,
see him again. I think if they would have signed with the company, I would have expected them to pick up the win.
yeah.
Um, over the acclaimed. So the fact that they didn't suggested to me that perhaps they're not signed to a contract, but a team that I think would do very well in AEW. I mean, the obvious match and the one that fans will be talking about is Grizzled Young Vets against FTR. I think that would be something that could do big business for AEW and could be one hell of a match. So I hope at least if they don't sign to AEW, we perhaps get that sometime this year.
I hope so. I'd love to see that. Let's talk Swerve before we move on to the main talking point of AEW. I mean, I'm not disrespecting him because he's champion, but there was a bit more of an important thing that happened on AEW this week that kind of made not necessarily made his title win obsolete to a degree, but it was just something else that happened on the show that kind of generated more buzz than
Yeah.
there. Number one, obviously Swerve winning the heavyweight championship off Samoa Joe, which I think, Dave, you predicted that he would be champion this year. So did you have any money on it? B, he's gone on since then to have two great matches. Cole Fletcher, which we could just question for being but then it was an eliminator, which we did say that those are better than I remember we had a conversation about it. We said we'd
Yeah.
prefer eliminators to title matches because you kind of know who's going to win. Although Swerve's first match as champion, you kind of gathered he was going to win that. But secondly, had a great match, and unsurprisingly, a great match with Claudio Castagnoli on Collision, albeit a world title match, which we kind of knew where that Swerve wasn't gonna lose. But nevertheless, Swerve champion, about time, and I think someone that's going to really carry AEW at least in the short term.
Yeah, as you say, predicted it. But that's not a bad thing. It just made total sense. Swerve has been on fire past 6 months or so. He has really built a lot of momentum. He's organically become a babyface when he did some pretty despicable
Yeah.
heel things, particularly with Hangman last year. And
Where is Hangman?
I think he's injured, but I'm not 100%
Okay,
sure.
cool.
I'm hoping that he plays into the elite stuff, but
Mm,
yeah, we'll come on to that.
yeah,
But yeah, in terms of Dynasty, I expected him to win. I'm in a prediction league, and I predicted all of the results other than the Willow Nightingale one, which in hindsight was probably one of the most obvious ones. I didn't know about Julia's injury. But yeah, back to Swerve. I didn't mind the match against Carl Fletcher. I thought it was a great match. It was
mm,
just I wasn't sure why Carl was getting it because of his win-loss record or the
yeah,
rankings. But in terms of the match, it was great. And I actually liked that he came out as world champion and he had a match. I think
yeah,
some people and some pundits online have suggested that he should have come out and he should have got on the microphone and he should have had his moment, which he did on Collision.
yeah,
But he's had a lot of moments, or he's done a lot of talking in the last few months. I think kind of to come out there and to set the stage and to come out with a title and defend it, or well, not defend it, but potentially defend it. Defended it against a potential defense in the Eliminator. I thought it was good. I thought it was a bit of a different type of presentation, something that I wasn't necessarily expecting. And as you say, there was a bigger story that we were going to get to. So I think it would have taken the gloss off it a little bit, whereas Swerve had that moment, had the microphone, and gave his coronation, if you like, on Collision. So I was fine with that. I'm really pleased for Swerve. I think he'll have the title for a few months. I think probably up until All In.
yeah. I was going to say up until probably All In, and I think we know the direction that they're going with that. But let's talk about the main thing, I'd even say the main talking point. Now, we have to go back actually, because obviously we haven't done this in a while. And by the way, Dave, had we done a prediction show, you would have known Julia Hart's injury because I would have told you about
Yeah,
it prior to where we was going to talk. But we didn't get
okay,
around to doing
sweet.
it, unfortunately. But there's loads more pay-per-views we can do predictions for, so don't worry. We won't worry too much. So the main talking point. So let's go way back. We haven't done a review together in a while. They aired the footage of. So we're setting the stage, everyone. By the way, they aired the footage that happened at All In, which to be honest, they should have just done anyway. I don't think there's anything on there really that incriminated anybody other than what everybody said was right, basically.
Yeah,
Anyway, so the point of that was Jack Perry had gone, or had been suspended. He had turned up in New Japan, as a scapegoat. He come out to New Japan in they had a match in Chicago where he come out as a scapegoat to Cry Me a River, I believe.
Yeah.
Awesome. The crowd gave him a great response. And at that point, I'd actually heard after that, literally, that everyone was reporting he'd finished up with New Japan at that point. He was due back imminently on Dynamite, and it absolutely happened. So at the end of that, he was at Dynasty. Sorry, he cost FTR the ladder match, come through as a hooded figure through the crowd of a mask. To a great response as well, by the way, that from the crowd there. Then turns up on Dynamite and initially, all cuddles and everything with Tony Khan after a while, and then well, jabs him, I suppose. And then Tony Khan gets Meltzer drivered by the Young Buck. It was great seeing the NFL draft of him wearing a bloody, a neck thing. Although he did come out and do the Garcia dancing on no, you didn't see it, but it was one of those ones that happened, after the show went off in a bloody neck brace doing the Garcia thing, which he's funny enough, he's actually auctioning off he's going to sign a neck brace and auction it off for charity or some charity, which is really good. Intrigued. That's kind of set up now. It's quite weird with this because obviously where they're going with this is quite interesting because Kenny Omega's coming back this week. Now we know that he's probably going to be set for surgery, but from that's what we hear. But Omega was kicked out by the Young Bucks of the Elite. Okada was brought in. They've now got Jack Perry. This could be the start of something, Dave, that could really take off in AEW, assuming they get it right.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, I've absolutely loved every second of it. I've really enjoyed the Young Bucks since they reappeared as Nicholas and Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the only people, and it's all right talking now a few weeks later, but if we would have had a chance to speak a few weeks ago, everybody was criticizing showing this footage. Pretty much everyone. Even AEW diehards thought that it was a mistake. But I just thought that people were jumping the gun a little bit, and let's just see what comes out of it because they weave that into the story with FTR. And they said that the reason they lost at Wembley was because they were distracted.
Yeah.
They've gone on to defeat FTR for the titles. Now, admittedly, Jack Perry was involved, but that kind of, strengthened that for me.
Yeah.
Jack Perry was kind of cast as quite a sympathetic figure with the CM Punk stuff because I think, regardless of the fact that Punk had told that story and people were saying, well, yeah, that's what happened, it did back up that Perry was kind of just standing there and Punk was the person that came
Yeah.
over. Punk was the person that initiated it. He was the one that got physical. So although that wasn't really up for dispute, it kind of, you started to think a little bit that you're feeling a bit sorry for Jack Perry. So for him to come out in the main event segment to get the reaction he did, and he kind of rah-rah speech for AEW, and he hugs Tony Khan, although you know that he's affiliated with the Young Bucks and you're expecting something, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I certainly didn't expect Tony Khan to be taking a Meltzer driver or a TK driver. Honestly, I was so entertained by it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was intriguing. I think the matches that we can get off the back of it, throughout the next few months now, the story with the power struggle at the top, and we've heard that Tony Khan's not going to be. He can run the company, but remotely, so he's not going to be on the road. So that opens up, well, who's going to be running it then? What, like McGuinness said on commentary, there is an issue. Who's going to deal with that? Then you've got the interesting factor of Kenny Omega coming back in, who is still an EVP, even though he's not part of the elite. I just think it's been set up absolutely perfectly. I don't know if this was the plan all along. They've had a lot of time with Jack Perry out to put this together. The Jacksons have got, they're so creative. And I think when they started AEW, they come out and said they've got 5 years worth of stories.
Yeah.
So obviously that was 5 years ago. So this isn't all. Certain things might have happened that, helped the story in some respects, or they might have deviated a little bit. And we don't know. I'm talking about the Ariel Helwani
Hmm.
interview with Punk. We don't know how much that affected things and the decision to show the footage there. But however they've got to this point, I don't really care because I think it's really good stuff. I think the ratings have increased. The ratings increased off the back of showing the footage. Jack Perry's merchandise was selling out. I don't really see any negatives, mate. I thought it was really good, really entertaining, and I can't wait to see what happens on Dynamite when Kenny Omega addresses it.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be some fun. We're gonna just quickly run through Dynamite before we finish up this week. So obviously we're gonna find out who Swerve's opponent is going to be at Double or Nothing. Chris Jericho puts the FTW Championship on the line against Shibata, which is another match that another one that's been announced is that Adam Copeland the Cope Open will return for the TNT Championship against a member of the House of Black, but that will not be determined until the evening.
I think it's Buddy. I think Tony Schiavone, yeah, let the cat out of the bag by
Oh,
mistake
did he?
on Collision. Yeah, yeah. So I think it's Buddy.
Wow, that will still be a great match, and I can't wait for his match with Malachi. That will happen. That's going to be brutal. I think there's one more. Now this match should be very interesting. Actually, it was announced less than an hour ago. Serena Deeb will take on Mariah May on AEW. That should be a very interesting match. Serena Deeb just coming back, great wrestler. Mariah May, still Tony Storm's stunt double or whatever you want to call her. But that should be they're two great women that can go. So it should be a really interesting Dynamite this week. As much will Kenny Omega returning as well. We're very much looking forward to Dynamite this week, as we do. We do every week, really. There may be some bits and pieces that we pick out that are not great, or bits that we don't like, but all in all, we generally enjoy these shows. Last week's AEW was great. It done a lot to set it up. Dave, let's finish with you. This week's Dynamite. What do you think? Well, if you had a crystal ball, what's Kenny Omega going to say?
I keep flip-flopping back and forth to him aligning with them and him being the one that kind of takes the stand. I think the fact they kicked him out, I can't help but to think that's going to set up a match with Okada. But as you say, if he's got to have surgery, we don't know what the time scale is for his recovery and when we're actually going to see him back in the ring again. So my gut says that he'll be against the Elite. Will he be some kind of on-screen authority figure now that Tony Khan said it's been stated that he can't travel? So will Omega be the person that's kind of filling those shoes, but more of an on-screen capacity? Um, I think the whole story probably concludes with a blood and guts match down the line, with it being the Elite versus AEW. Um, but I'm
Interesting.
not expecting that to be anytime soon. I think there's a lot of story to be told here.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm riveted by it. I think it's really, really good. I think the matches that we're gonna get off the back of it are gonna be sensational. Uh, yeah, but love every second of it. I don't think Tony Khan's going to be on screen too much. I think that was the one of the criticisms. We said he
Yeah.
was never going to appear, and here he is. But I mean, 5 years in to do one angle, which was really good. Um, yeah, I don't expect Tony Khan to be when the neck brace comes off or when time passes for him to be in like a Vince McMahon role. That's not going to happen. But I think Kenny could potentially do that while he's recuperating and while he's not fit to wrestle. So my gut says that he will be against the Elite, but yeah, can't be sure. What's your instinct?
I think he'll be against. I think they'll initially take him out so he can get his surgery. I think that's
Yeah,
initially where, and then I do agree that blood and guts is going to be on the cards. It would just depend on. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe Hangman will come back for that. Maybe, maybe.
who's he gonna align with,
Does he align with one and then go to the other during? I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, that's where I think they're going to go. But likewise, I'm looking forward to it, and I really want to see where they go. But this is what we say about wrestling, is it? Give us a reason to watch the
Yeah.
show.
I think I think with Kenny and Hangman, there's so much history there as well. The tag team
Mm.
champions. If Kenny is against the Elite, then you got Hangman coming in who was a heel really the last
Yeah.
time we saw him. So which way he go? He kind of was friends again with the Jacksons. Just yeah, a lot of questions, but I'm all for it. I think it's really, really compelling stuff. I think we're getting the best version of the Young Bucks. I think they're fully invested. I think they're obviously having a lot of fun. And I think the product really is back on track. And with a few improvements, they've had some technical issues lately with some of the sound and stuff. So once they can iron out production issues as well, with the on-screen talent with they've got and the stories that are now being told, I think it could be a really potentially AEW's biggest ever year. You know, there's certainly the doom mongers and people saying that it was their WCW moment and it was going downhill, and I just thought that's just total rubbish. I actually think the opposite. I think the company's getting stronger and getting bigger and better, and some of the matches we're seeing and some of the wrestlers they've got contracted to them. I don't think AEW is going anywhere.
No, I don't think so either. Look, I've said this before. Like they're already valued at $2 billion from 5 years, which is massive in terms of that. Roster's great. Look, well, I think there's going to be some inevitable spring cleaning of the roster as we move through the year as contracts come up. That would happen anywhere that you go. But he's played, and I think he's played a great point with the free agency and just getting the Ospreays, the Okadas, the Monets, and we know that Camille is still out there at the moment. She's not been assigned to anywhere yet, so that could potentially be another one that comes in. So there's going to be inevitably some spring cleaning done. It's natural. You need that as you progress. I mean, we talked about best friends before, right at the start of the show, and best friends were the absolute stalwarts of the pandemic era. They were
Yeah,
literally the ones on their week in, week out. Now they're on Rampage, and fair enough, they're into a storyline now, but it's taken some time. But there's going to be some inevitability that the roster will ultimately be trimmed in areas because obviously look, they're not exactly going to be paying Ospreay tuppence, are they? And people, Monet's ain't going to be, she ain't going to
yeah,
be on nothing, is she? So, but I think they're in a great spot. TV rights is going to be huge, and that I think is this year. That's going to be a massive, massive thing now. And that's something that I think they need to get in the bag pretty quickly. Not say pretty quickly, because just because it's out this year, but they need to get it there sorted so they got that money as well from the TV rights people, whoever wherever they do, whether they stick with where they are, they're going to go streaming. I don't know, but they need to get that sorted. And I think we're fine. And I'm liking. There's more pay-per-views, which is nice. I like. I think the biggest issue I had was every kind sort of waiting 3 months for a pay-per-view. There was a lot to try and
yeah,
I'm not saying one a month, but I think that's where they're heading. But I'm not one every sort of other month. I just because there is that 3 months in between a pay-per-view is too long. I think in nowadays you could get away with it. Back in '90s and the '80s, but they used to be 6 a year or 4 a year or whatever it was. You'd go ages.
yeah,
Can't do that now. You can't. Consumer demand is too much for them to do it.
yeah,
But we've got Forbidden Door coming up. That's going to be in I think it's in Long Island, funnily enough. Is that where NJF returns? Perhaps.
yeah,
So
yeah, maybe. But
who knows?
you've got JF, you've got Christian, you got Hangman,
Hangman,
got
Omega,
Samoa Joe. Yeah.
Joe.
So there's so many, and that's just people that are assigned to them. You've got people that we've just talked about, like grizzled young veterans, and others that are out there that are perhaps working with Impact and vice versa. People in Japan. Jack Perry hasn't wrestled a match yet. I think he has positioned himself now, or he's been positioned as a real top star for the
Yeah.
company. I know he's had his detractors in the past, but the reactions that he's getting, the fact that he's aligned with the elite, and it's kind of a super group, really. I think there'll be a lot of interest in Jack Perry's first match back in AEW. As you say, they're in a really strong position. It'd be fascinating to see which way they go with the TV rights. We've always known that WWE are a bit of a trendsetter, and stuff
Yeah.
like the network, and now that they're going to Netflix, will AEW go in a same kind of direction, or will they be thinking if there's not as much wrestling on cable television in America, will that be something that they try and exploit? From my understanding, similar to the landscape here, everybody's moving to more streaming. But there's still a place for Sky Television here. There's still a place for cable television in the States. So I don't know. Do they put all their eggs in one basket and try and get something going with Amazon, or do they stick with the more traditional? I don't know. I think, and we could talk about this all night. There's pros and cons. I
Yeah,
think they have got a lot of viewers over here in the UK because of the content is available on ITV, which is free to air in the
yeah.
UK. Everybody gets ITV. So I think there'll be a lot of fans in the UK that don't necessarily watch WWE because of the paywall. Whereas here they just get it. So if they want to watch a couple of hours of wrestling a week and they can get AEW for free and they're getting some of the matches like the ones we've discussed, then that kind of fills that void for them. So yeah, it really kind of it's going to be fascinating to see how it goes. But I just love we had a period where AEW were on top, or they were the hot company, and for a while now WWE has been back in the ascendancy since Triple H has taken over.
Yeah.
WrestleMania was phenomenal. They've been doing great business, in and out of the ring. But I think it's kind of leveled out at the minute. I know some metrics aren't comparable,
Mhm.
but just in terms of both companies are putting out a great product with some compelling stories, some good matches, some great action. I think that's a great thing for all wrestling fans, and that's what we want because that's what gets the most out of each company. We not just the top two or the as I see it, WWE and AEW, TNA, sensational. New Japan, great. The Indies in the UK, your GCWs and companies like that. Wrestling is, really going through a sustained boom. It's not just a flash in the pan and top for a year. This has been going on for a number of years now. That as fans, it's just been great to be a wrestling fan.
Exactly. So you know what, people, just fucking enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Stop.
Yeah.
I don't even want to go there. I'm not going to end it that way. So just enjoy wrestling. Dave, it's been great to recap AEW. Some lots of fascinating stuff going on. In terms of stuff on this channel, there is bits and pieces that have changed. Our leader Andy has gone to pastures new. We wish him well with whatever he doing. I can see the Dunstable Town podcast and stuff. So go give that a follow. I will give you the information on our Twitter pages and stuff. That we'll follow it ourselves. So it's DTFC, I think it is pod. Go and give him a follow and show your support to him while he goes off and does that and probably smashes it like he does, like he did over here at HTTB. We'll be carrying the flag going forward, Dave, and I'm sure we will carry on in the rich vein of form that we had. Well, basically, nothing's going to stop. We're not going to stop. So, it will still be there. We got interviews this week, so a couple more NWA spotlights on the way. Me and Fiona have loved that series. The NWA have been great guests to have on. We will be having that. I've got to sit down with Nina Samuels tomorrow. I've actually been invited onto the Nina Samuels show instead of coming onto our show. She's invited me onto hers, which I'm not quite sure how that works, considering I'm meant to be the host of the show. Nevertheless, I'll be talking to Nina Samuels. There'll be NWA reviews. There'll be reviews going on all week. It is Backlash. I know this is AEW, but this is Backlash week as well. So we've got SmackDown's on at 6 o'clock this Friday, Dave. 6 p.m. Thank you, Mother of God.
I've, not just the UK and the European shows. I just love that WWE are going all around the world. Seemingly, there's a lot of live events and tours and shows, the pay-per-views or the PLEs as they call them, that are on. Well, all of them traditionally have been in America, so I think it's great. I think it's really good and good for us as fans as well that we can sit down on a Friday and a Saturday night and enjoy some wrestling, and we haven't got to wake up early on a Sunday morning a bit groggy to
Exactly.
catch up, and we
With
can
our
watch.
with our tea or dinner, we can watch a pay-per-view,
There's
which is
just
great.
something nice about watching it live as well, isn't there? There's just
Yeah.
something, it's instant. There's no chance you're going to see any spoilers.
No.
You've just got to be present and watching it. You can't I suppose you can pause it if you're watching it on Sky, but you get the sentiment. You just want to watch it as it's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly going to be trying to check that out at the weekend. Definitely Backlash.
Yeah, hopefully when we'll get on review on that as well. Funny enough, we're going to be on Tuesday. When I'm sitting down and recording this week on Tuesday, I'm talking to one of the big super fans of the WWE over in America. His name's Kerry Morris, and he's been a massive fan of WWE. And I'd like to get his feelings on the WWE doing this, because after WrestleMania, the next pay-per-view in the US is SummerSlam. So it's a 4-month gap of international pay-per-views, which is great for us. But I'd like to get his thoughts on that. But anyway, let's wrap up, Dave. AEW, the signature way that we would do it. It is, I know it's been a while. I'm hoping you've remembered the words and how you do it, but serenade us the way that you would normally end the AEW show, please, Dave.
Well, it's time to bid you all adieu, goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang.
See you next time, everybody.